You are still trying to prove something to someone who is not even watching anymore. Maybe they never said you were not enough. Maybe they never had to. It was just something in the way they looked at you, or did not look at you. Something in the silence after you showed them something you were proud of. Something in the way their approval was always just slightly out of reach, no matter how hard you reached for it. And they have moved on. They are living their life. They probably do not think about this half as much as you do. But you are still in it. You are still making decisions based on what they would think. Still measuring your wins against the standard they set. Still hearing their voice in the back of your head when you are about to try something new, telling you it probably will not work, that you are probably not built for this, that the smarter thing would be to stay where you are safe. You are proving yourself to a ghost. And How to Train Your Dragon is the most honest film ever made about what that actually costs you. This video is not really about a Viking who befriended a dragon. It is about you, and the person whose approval you are still chasing years after they stopped being present enough to give it. Hiccup Haddock was born into the wrong life. His father, Stoic, was the greatest dragon slayer in Viking history. Broad, powerful, legendary. The kind of man who walked into a room and made the room feel smaller just by being in it. And Hiccup was his son. Scrawny, awkward. The only Viking in Berk who had never once managed to do anything the way a Viking was supposed to do it. He did not fit. Not in his village, not in his family, not in his own skin. And from the very beginning of the film, there is one thing driving almost every decision Hiccup makes. He wants his father to look at him differently. Not praise exactly, not love. Stoic already loved him in the way distant fathers love sons they do not understand. What Hiccup wanted was something more specific and more painful than love. He wanted to be seen as enough. And watch how far that need takes him. He goes to dragon training, not because he wants to fight dragons. He goes because it is the only arena where his father might finally look at him, the way he looks at everyone else. He lies about killing a Night Fury, not because he is a liar, but because the truth, that he actually made friends with one, is something he already knows Stoic will not be able to receive. He builds a prosthetic tail for Toothless in secret. He learns everything there is to learn about dragons. He becomes genuinely extraordinary, and he does all of it with one eye on his father. Every breakthrough is measured against that one question. Will this finally be the thing that makes him see me? Psychologists call this external self-worth contingency, the pattern where a person's sense of their own value is not generated internally, but is entirely dependent on the approval or recognition of a specific other person. Jennifer Crocker at the University of Michigan spent years researching this, and what she found is both predictable and devastating. People who locate their self-worth in the approval of others experience dramatically higher rates of anxiety, depression, and shame. Not because they are weak, because the approval they are chasing is inherently unstable. It can be given and withdrawn. It can shift based on the other person's mood, or priorities, or capacity. And no amount of achievement closes the gap permanently, because the gap was never really about achievement in the first place. Hiccup does not need to be a better dragon fighter to earn Stoic's approval. He needs Stoic to be a different kind of father, and that is the thing he cannot do anything about. Think about the person you are still proving yourself to. Maybe it is a parent. Maybe it is a former partner who left. Maybe it is a mentor who dismissed you. A sibling who always seemed to get there first. A group of people who made you feel small at an age when small felt permanent. You have probably achieved things since then, real things, things that by any objective measure demonstrate that the version of you they underestimated was wrong to underestimate, and it has not fixed it, because achievement was never going to fix it. What you are actually carrying is not a deficit of accomplishment. It is a wound from a specific moment or a specific relationship where your value was measured and found insufficient, and that wound does not heal through external proof. It just accumulates more evidence that never quite lands where it needs to land. The trophy goes on the shelf, and the voice in the back of your head says yes, but they still do not know about it. The promotion comes, and something in you immediately thinks about whether they have heard. You build the life, and some part of you is always calculating whether it is the kind of life that would make them reconsider. That is Hiccup at dragon training. Extraordinary in ways his father cannot yet see. and every single day going back to measure himself against a standard that was never designed for who he actually is. Here is the scene that unlocks the entire film. Stoic finds out about Toothless, and his response is not wonder. It is not curiosity. It is betrayal and rage. He tells Hiccup that he has to stop being who he is and start being what Burke needs. He chains Toothless. He takes everything Hiccup built and treats it as a threat. And watch Hiccup in that moment. He does not defend himself the way you might expect someone to. He does not say, "Look at what I figured out that you never could." He collapses. Internally, he collapses. Because when the person whose approval you have been chasing finally looks at your greatest achievement and rejects it, the effect is not anger. It is something much quieter and more total. It is the confirmation of the fear you have been running from the whole time. I was right. I am not enough. Not even this was enough. Research by Gerben Meyer, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, found that people who experience rejection from high attachment figures, the people whose approval matters most to them, show significantly stronger negative self-evaluation than people who experience identical rejection from neutral sources. The closer the person is to us emotionally, the more their rejection becomes indistinguishable from truth. Stoic's rejection of Toothless does not feel to Hiccup like one man's limited perspective. It feels like a verdict, and you know what a verdict feels like. The specific moment when someone whose opinion you had been quietly organizing your life around confirmed your worst fear about yourself. Maybe they said it directly. Maybe they just showed you through what they chose and who they chose and what they walked toward and away from. And something in you accepted it as true. Even if you never said that out loud, even if you spent years after that moment being successful and capable and fine, there is a part of you that took that verdict in and has been working against it ever since, not healing from it, working against it. There is a difference. Healing would mean the verdict no longer has jurisdiction over your decisions. Working against it means the verdict is still the standard you are measuring yourself by, and every achievement is another piece of evidence you are collecting to prove it wrong. It still has the power. You have just gotten very good at pretending it does not. The most psychologically honest moment in How to Train Your Dragon is not the final battle. It is the conversation at the end, where Stoic finally sees what Hiccup has done and says, "You have changed Burke." And Hiccup's response is not triumph. It is relief. Quiet, desperate relief. The kind of relief that tells you how long you have been waiting for something, how much of your life has been organized around the hope that this moment would eventually come. That is the wound in its most visible form, not the striving, the relief, the exhale that tells you how tightly you have been holding your breath. Most people who are still proving themselves to someone never get that moment. The person they are proving themselves to never turns around, never reconsiders, never delivers the verdict that releases them from the need to keep going. They just live their lives, and you keep building yours in their direction. And this is the thing nobody tells you about that pattern. It does not stay contained to the original relationship. Research by Susan Harder at the University of Denver found that self-worth contingency established in early significant relationships tends to generalize. The standard of approval that one person set becomes the filter through which subsequent relationships are evaluated. You stop being able to tell which of your choices are genuinely yours and which are being made for the invisible audience of the person you are still trying to convince. The career path that would impress them, the partner they would finally approve of, the version of your life that would make them look at you differently if they could see it now. You are not just proving yourself to one person anymore. You are proving yourself to an internalized version of that person that lives inside your own judgment and never stops watching. That is heavier than the original wound, because at least with the original person, you could physically walk away. The internalized version goes with you. Hiccup does not stop needing Stoic's approval when Stoic is not in the room. He carries it with him. It shapes every risk he takes, every decision, every moment of doubt. The dragon is not the thing he has to tame. The need for the verdict to change is the thing he has to tame. And the moment that actually shifts things is not when Stoic finally approves. It is earlier. It is quieter. It is the moment Hiccup decides to ride Toothless into the final battle, not because it will make Stoic see him differently, but because it is the right thing to do. because Toothless is his, and the cause is real, and for the first time, the action is not being measured against anyone else's standard. That is the turning point, not approval, autonomy. The moment the action stops being performed for an audience and starts coming from somewhere internal, you are still waiting for your version of that moment. And I want to be honest with you about something. The person you are still proving yourself to may never turn around, may never say the thing you needed them to say, may never look at what you have built and reconsider the verdict they handed down. That is a genuine possibility, and it deserves to be said plainly, because most advice about this wound tells you to keep going, and eventually the right people will see your worth, and everything will resolve. And sometimes that is true. But sometimes the person you are still chasing has moved so completely past that moment that they have no idea you are still in it. They are living their life. They do not know you are still measuring yourself against what they said or did not say when you were younger and more vulnerable and needed their approval more than you knew how to admit. You are running a race they stopped watching, and the only finish line that means anything at this point is the one you set for yourself, not the life that would make them reconsider, the life that makes you feel like yourself, not the achievement that would change the verdict, the work that matters to you regardless of who sees it. Hiccup does not become himself when Stoic finally approves. He becomes himself in the moment before that, in the choice he makes without knowing how it will land, in the action he takes because it is true, and not because it is strategic. That is available to you right now, not after the proof is complete, not after the verdict changes, not after the person you have been running toward finally turns around. Right now, in whatever you have been holding back because some part of you is still waiting for permission from someone who already moved on. You have been waiting long enough. The verdict was never theirs to give.